We are family. Good evening and welcome. You are watching the Zone Blitz. This is the weekly Tuesday night webcast produced by NFL Female, www.nflfemale.com. Be sure to jump on our website and check out all the latest and greatest articles by all of our reporters. We're growing, we're expanding. We now have, not only do we cover all 32 NFL teams, but we also have, now I am the official reporter for the NFL. I cover the entire league. We're also adding divisional reporters. So big things happening at NFL Female. Be sure to jump on there and check everything out. And exciting news, we have a new member of the crew tonight joining us. So yeah. So without further ado, by the way, I'm Sharona. You can follow me on Twitter at Sports by Sharona. I'm going to kick it over to my wonderful co-host, Sonja, who is going to bring in our new crew member.
How apropos to bring in our new team member. Yes, you know, we are getting new, great, and wonderful people. Hi, everybody. I'm Sonja. I'm Rude. You follow me on Twitter at mom3RN. I'm the official fan reporter for the Detroit Lions for NFLfemale.com. Always glad to be back and chatting with you guys today. So yeah, kind of nice how I get to introduce our newest team member, who I'm super duper excited that she is coming to join us. Here at NFL Female, we are expanding. We also are going to have an NCAA correspondent.
That's right.
But until then, you get Kate and I going back and forth about the best rivalry in sports, Michigan and that school in Ohio.
You mean the Ohio State and that school?
Ohio State University. Y'all are still in the wrong conference, so it doesn't matter. You're in the baby. You're in one of those baby conferences that can't compete with the almighty SEC.
I'm pretty sure.
Don't get Kate started.
That are the undisputed NCAA college football champions. What now?
Yeah. 1 year wonder.
As she sips her wine. Anyways, but we are so happy to have Kate joining us and joining our team. So we are very excited. Oh, God, she has that stupid Buckeye thing.
Yeah.
This is my official.
I've got my 1990.
We're going to rival all the time and never actually talk NFL.
Well, you know, she has to fall, you know, She does have to give me crap about that because, well, her Browns really ain't going anywhere. So I guess we can begrudge her the Ohio State University. So there's that. Trash Talk Tuesday. It's on, people.
It's on like lice on something.
So, Kate, welcome. We are so glad to have you. Why don't you go ahead and tell everybody about yourself?
Well, hello there. My name is Cleveland Kate. I live in the Cleveland area. Moved here when I was 9, and I've been a Browns fan ever since. This year will mark the 40th anniversary of my Browns fandom, so you can do the math if you want to figure out how old that makes me.
29.
Yeah, that's that sports math.
28 and counting.
My parents were from Pittsburgh, so they were Steelers fans, and I'm quick to tell people that I was adopted, so I don't have any of that Steeler DNA going on. It's just football DNA that I got from whoever birthed me. So I'm a Browns fan, top of my head to the tip of my toes. Also love college football and the Ohio State Buckeyes, because when you're a Browns fan, you need something to look forward to on the weekends, and for us, that's Saturday's Ohio State game. But I'm always hopeful and positive and really looking forward to the football season getting started, and especially this Browns season. I always think we're going to be 8-8, and that probably tells you just how sad it is to be a Browns fan when you're hoping for 500. But as positive as I get, I try to stay realistic. I cover the Browns for NFLfemale.com, and I also host my own podcast on Mondays and Fridays at 6 o'clock, Talking Sports with Cleveland Kate. So I'll pretty much talk sports anytime, anywhere that anybody asks me to, and sometimes even when they don't ask me to. So that's, I think, everything you need to know about me for today.
And she is a wonderful host. She and her husband are fantastic hosts. They hosted us for the Hall of Fame, and we just had a great time. So thanks again.
I do make a mean breakfast.
Yes, you do.
She makes the best gravy and biscuits ever.
Oh, you got biscuits and gravy. I didn't get all that. I think it's just because I'm a Michigan
You're from
fan.
Michigan.
I
You're
didn't
like
get to
my
make it
husband.
this year. I was very jealous, but I was there last year, and I can co-sign that Kate and her family, her entire family, are wonderful, and the puppy dogs are pretty awesome too. How are those grandbabies doing?
They're awesome. I have 3 grandsons. They are 1-year-old, 2 years old, and 4 years old. So you'll be happy to know they're Ohio State Buckeye recruiting classes of 2029, 31, and 32. So they will be Buckeyes. I'm not sure what sports they'll play. Hopefully football, but either way they'll be Buckeyes. And I'm getting a new grandbaby. My oldest daughter and her husband are due on Halloween, and we actually know that
Oh,
this one is going to be a girl.
All
When
right.
my husband and I have 4 daughters, so when daughter number 2 had her boys, she never wanted to know what it was going to be before they were born, so we were always surprised. But daughter number 1's a little OCD, and she has to have everything just right before the baby gets here, so we're getting a girl. So I'm going to have a
oh, that is so awesome! Congratulations, Kate.
football teams need cheerleaders too, so she'll be fine.
Unless
Now,
they're, the Lions or the Steelers or the Packers,
Well, or the
Yeah.
Browns. We don't have cheerleaders, but high
And
school
or the Browns, too. Yeah.
you can actually get a college scholarship for cheerleading or golf. Apparently, the female golf scholarships are going unclaimed all across the country. That's my little
Yeah.
help tip for those
and
of you with daughters. Get them playing golf, and they can go to college for free.
There
yeah,
you go.
there's what 2 or 3 NFL teams that don't have cheerleaders. I guess the Browns, and the Steelers, and the
The
Packers.
Lions.
Oh, well, I don't think the Packers do either.
I was about to say, so that's 4.
Too damn
So
cold
that's a
at
few.
Lambeau. But I often wonder if the fact that the Browns and the Lions don't have cheerleaders also explains why neither of those teams have been to the Super Bowl.
I
Maybe
think
if
that
we
might make some
cheerleaders-
sense.
I don't know. I'm willing to try anything at this point.
Exactly.
Very, very, very cool. Now, Kate, this podcast, is that new? I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
I just started 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
I've always done ensemble podcasts and interviews and stuff, and people keep telling me I should do my own show. So I'm giving it a shot, and I can actually apparently talk about sports all by myself for an hour twice a week. In Cleveland, there's a little bit of Cavaliers to talk about, a little bit of Indians, especially with Mark Shapiro this week was the big news, leaving the Indians to go take the job in Toronto. So there's been actually some baseball to talk about, but it's all football. What I find interesting in Cleveland is, for as bad as our team has been since really since 1989, we have 2 full-time, all-day sports talk radio stations, and the Browns themselves produce Cleveland Browns Daily. It's a 2-hour show every day, Monday through Friday, all year round. We talk an awful lot about sports here, and I don't know very many other cities who talk as much sports as we do. And there are I could probably start naming you 15 different just podcasts that people either do solo or in groups that are very well listened to in the area. It's just, everybody likes to talk sports here.
Well, that's awesome. Congratulations.
That's very good.
Yeah, congratulations and good luck on that. And we'll definitely have to help you promote that and get listener interest up. I'm sorry, you guys. My dog has decided that she wants to hang out with me tonight, and she's got a little bit of allergy trouble. Hope that's not. She's got. Bless her little heart, but she's good. All right, well, let's go ahead and get started. Just a little preview of what we're going to be doing tonight. Our other sort of semi-new co-host, Kat, could not join us tonight. She had work duty to do, but with Kate joining us, I say ordinarily, but with Kate joining us, in the future you're going to be seeing 4 of us. So we're trying out some new and different things, and we're working on getting our own segments going. So we're going to be trying some new things out on you guys tonight. Sonja is going to host a little segment called Sonja's Unsung Heroes. I'm very anxious to hear some of the names that she's going to nominate, and then we're going to have Kate's Kate's cuts, where we're going to talk about. It was cut day in the NFL. The last couple of days have been cut days in the NFL. Always a sad time. So we're going to talk about the cuts that have been going on across the league. And then we're going to finish with a fantasy football segment. A lot of people are drafting right now. Fantasy football is huge, and I'm going to be leading that segment. That'll be the last segment. If we've got some time, we might talk about some of the hot topics that are going on across the league. But just to give you guys a little preview of what we're going to be talking about, so I'm going to toss it back over to Sonja and let her start her segment with Sonja's Unsung Heroes.
Yes, I do like the underdog. I do like, when people aren't talking about somebody, just because, everybody needs some sort of shine every now and then. So that's why I like to do Unsung Hero. So by all means, chime in. If you've got somebody that you think I should nominate, if you totally disagree with what I think, I don't care. Let me know. I want to know what you guys are feeling. I need your love here with this one.
That's right. We're going to actually, I don't mean to interrupt Sonja, but just to let our audience know, since we've got looks like we've got some new viewers tonight, we want you guys to vote. We want you guys to participate. Hopefully very soon we're going to be moving to a new platform. It's called Spreecast. We're going to be able to interact with you a lot better, a lot easier. So we're going to be tweeting out our Unsung Heroes. We want you guys to weigh in and vote on who you think should be the ultimate winner of Sonja's Unsung Hero segment.
Yes, it'll be fun. Go ahead and get your Spreecast accounts now so that you guys can start interacting with us once we go live with Spreecast. So that's the only thing. You guys just got to get your Spreecast signed up and ready to go. And you can do it with your Twitter. You can do it with your Facebook. It's free. So go ahead and get set up so that when we're ready to rock and roll, you are too. All right. So you guys are going to be a little bit surprised about my Unsung Hero today. You are. You really, really are. At first I was going to be a little cheesy and say, my unsung heroes are the guys who hustled hard and, who were able to make the cuts, those who were on the bubble, those, who were in jeopardy of not making the cut, but those who made it. So those are going to be like my go-to. But then I started thinking, I read a couple articles this week, and Kate is really going to be proud of me with this one. Maurice Claret, you're my unsung hero this week.
Uh-oh.
I was hoping to join you.
Okay, come back, honey. Come back. I mean, I know. Maurice Claret is my
my first episode. That's what that is.
Exactly, so that we can get rid of you and not have to worry about your book kindness. No, I'm totally teasing. But I can respect somebody who, has done what he started to do. I read an article, I do believe, on ESPN. If it wasn't on ESPN, it was somewhere out there on the internet. And it's about what he's doing for college players and just for, NFL rookies if they want to talk to him. He's just telling them about life. And just, he's not giving them the Chris Carter speech either. That's what I love about it. He's telling them for real, like, you have to decide what you need to do. You need to figure out and learn how to be a man. You need to grow up. And he pretty much told the Florida State Seminole players, you need to grow the F up. And they're totally respecting it. They're totally loving it. And
That's great.
They're buying into what he's talking about. And he's really gotten himself back together. And, I got to salute him for that because not too many people can come back from all he's gone through, and so.
Yeah, Sonja, for our viewers who might not be familiar, give them a little bit of background on, because it's been a few years. It's been, maybe 8 years since Maurice Claret had the issues that he had?
I was about to say at least 8 or 9, I think. Because, Jill was either a little squirt or just hadn't been born yet. Anyway, so Maurice Claret, the reason why Kate is probably just having spasms over there is because he was running back for the Ohio State University. He wound up in a whole bunch of trouble. He was really, touted to do well in the NFL. And, they're talking Heisman candidate, top picks of the draft, things like that. Ended up going in the 3rd round and then just kind of downhill spiraled from there. Got cut from a couple teams. Wound up back in Youngstown, Ohio, just kind of floundering around, and ended up actually in jail for a couple years. few years.
For a few years.
And so while he was in jail, he just kind of, you know, started realizing that, oh crap, I'm in jail, and you know, how did I go from being this football player to now I'm in jail? And he even says that, you know, football wasn't really truly, he didn't give it his all in the end. He just kind of did it because, you know, they said he was good at it, but you know, never did give it his all. But he got out, and then people, you know, he started telling his story and just, you know, how much he's changed and what life means and what he learned. And so people have started picking up on that, and now he's going to different colleges. He's going, you know, to talk to the NFL rookies, things like that, and just telling them about their life and, you know, about life and what they need to do to grow up and be productive, successful people, members of society. So kudos to you, Merce Clara. I mean, I was like, I feel good. I can't hate on this. I can't hate on this.
Yeah, and Kay probably has a little bit more information about this, but he also challenged the NCAA system, the NFL NCAA system that doesn't allow, you know, that didn't allow guys to go, you know, to the NFL early, and early on had a victory, and then ultimately did not win this case. So, you know, I think that he, from what I've read and seen him talk about, you know, he felt like, you know, that was part of the reason why he didn't go as highly, you know, maybe as some people thought he would, and he felt like maybe he might have gotten taken a little bit of advantage of. So he does have a really great message to impart to young kids.
Well, and a lot of the message from what I've been reading about him is look at what I had and look at what I lost, because I was an idiot. He was actually released from Ohio State for bad behavior and for some legal issues and problems he was having, which is why he wanted to go out for the draft in 2004, and he was only his second year out of school, and you have to be out of school. Your high school graduating class has to be 3 years out. So he went to court to force the NFL to let him into the 2004 draft, and I never thought that was a good call, because I just don't think you force people to accept you. They don't accept you when you force them to.
Exactly.
You know, working out and getting himself together and getting drafted. He was the last pick of the third round in 2005 by the Denver Broncos, and again, self-destructed and imploded and got cut by them. He was their last pick of the third round, and they cut him 1 month after he signed his contract, before the regular season even started, because of his attitude and his issues. And so that's one of the most powerful messages that I think he gives these kids is, you know, nothing is owed to you. And this prima donna attitude that some of you have, you need to get over, because they will cut you. And look at everything I had and what I lost because of me, because of my attitude and my ego and my lack of humility and everything else. And so that's an important message. And I think coming from someone like him, that these, you know, college players today were young when he played, but they remember, they can Google and look at his and see his game highlights on YouTube and all that. And to hear that from a player who's, you know, not a coach, not your mom, your dad, your aunt, you know, to hear that from a peer, someone who's been where you are, tell you, don't make the mistakes I made. I'm hoping he has a really good impact on that program, because they used to have a better program down there, and it's had some issues in recent years, and I think he'll help, you know, from a ethics and morale kind of standpoint, keep those guys on the straight and narrow, maybe help some of them so that if they do get into the NFL, they don't squander it away like he did. I wish he'd have a talk with Josh Gordon, because he's going to spend this entire year on my suspended list.
Yeah.
And that's some raw talent. It just makes me sad to see the God-given talent that some of these guys have that they waste. And other guys out there that we're going to talk about on the cut list today that are trying so hard and just don't. You can try as hard as you want, but you have to have a certain amount of talent. And to throw away that talent is just sad.
So yeah,
so we all want to watch good football. I don't want to watch a bunch of scrubs on Sunday. I want to watch good football. And when the really talented active...
So then why are you watching the Browns?
Well, see,
because you don't choose who you love, Sonia. The heart does not. The heart chooses where the brain does not.
That's right. That is right. Trash Talk Tuesday. Gotta love it.
Gotta love it. Gotta love it. I like that one. I think it's a good one.
Okay, well, good. Well, thanks, guys. Let me know. Let me know if you guys think about that or what you guys think about it. And like I said, from just respect, all respect to Maurice Claret for that one. And rivalry aside, got to give him props.
Yeah.
And that is one thing I will do. I respect people who deserve the respect. So there you go.
Good job, girl.
Why, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Kate, do you have one? Do you have anybody that you want to nominate?
Not this week.
Oh, no. Well, I'm trying to think. There was, I don't remember the gentleman's name, but very well respected. I'll look it up and announce it here in a little bit. But there was a very well respected gentleman who just retired from the NFL league office that I want to mention. I wasn't familiar, but then you saw a lot of people, talking about him on social media and stuff, and so when you get that kind of attention that people really respect you, and so it's something to bear in mind and to keep in mind that when you inspire other people, that that shows in how you're remembered.
It does. It does.
All right. Well, gosh, sad days in the NFL the last couple of days. A lot of players saw their dream interrupted, hopefully not over yet. So we're going to let Kate lead us off with her Kate's Cuts. Kate's Cuts. Is it Kate's Cuts?
Just Kate's Cuts.
Kate's Cuts. All right,
we only get to do this segment for a couple weeks, and then Cuts will be over, and then I'll probably want to talk about injuries because that'll be a big thing once the season starts. But I think with the roster moves and the schedule, the next couple weeks, we've got some important dates, and that's kind of what I wanted to lead off with. Today at 4 p.m., all NFL teams had to be down to 75 players. So you've seen a lot of stuff out on social media as these things are being announced, and people are, happy or sad. I was able to go to training camp to see the Browns quite a bit this year, and so there were a couple guys that I knew were fringe players, and I was sad to see them get cut. One of them being Shane Wynn, who's a local kid, played at Glenville High School, went to college at Indiana, so he may get picked up by another team, and I'll kind of keep an eye on him. But most of the people on the cut list is not anyone would know unless you were looking at them in particular, but there were quite a few names today that surprised me. Again, today they had to be down to 75 by 4 o'clock. And just so you know what your future deadlines are, September 5th, which is that Sunday?
Sunday.
September 5th by 4.
No, Saturday.
Saturday? You're right, It's Saturday. Saturday by 4, they have to be down to the 53-man rosters. Any active but physically unable to play or active, the NFB, the non-football injuries or illness guys, they have to change their designation to make them something. They have to either convert them to reserve players, they have to put them on waivers, terminate their contract, trade them, they have to do something with them. So they can't just still be like that. And then on the 6th, anybody that was let go, their waiver claims will clear on Sunday at noon. And then by 1 o'clock, the teams can start signing practice squad players. So by the time we meet again next Tuesday, the teams will have their 10-man spots on the practice squad all set up. And then at 4 o'clock on Sunday, they can designate people for injured reserve, designated to return. If you're an IR/DTR, that means you cannot practice for the next 6 weeks. Then you can practice with the team again. They can bring you back. Then you can practice for 2 weeks, but you will not be active and able to play until 8 weeks. So that would be the week 9 of the football schedule. They would be able to play again. One notable player, just because he's from Cleveland, that may have this happen to them is Johnny Manziel. He's had some elbow issues, and so while they're on the IR/DTR list, they don't count against the 53-man roster, so there's been some talk that they might put Johnny Manziel on this and let that elbow get fully healed and see how they do with Josh McCown and reserve that spot and then bring him back for week 9. So that's how that goes. September 10th is the day that the top 51 player rule expires. And what that means is during the entire offseason, up through September 10th, your salary cap is only measured based on the 53 most expensive contracts. That's why they're able to have 90 people in camp on, the mini contracts and whatnot. and not worry about the salary cap. On September 10th, that expires. As of September 10th, everybody under contract is on your salary cap. So you better be, know where you need to be. And that's why I think some of the decisions, maybe not the ones today for the 75, but definitely some of the decisions to get down to 53 by the end of this week are going to be based on salary cap considerations and teams needing to make sure that they're not over the cap and that they've got room to do whatever they need to do during the season. So this week there were 6 cuts that I was surprised at or that I thought would be interesting. They were names that I thought people would know. And number one, I think for anyone who's ever played fantasy football, the Buffalo Bills cut running back Fred Jackson. And I know he's getting up there in age, but he's not that old, and he's still got some good miles left. And there were at least 3 teams rumored to be talking to him today. So I would not be surprised if he's not picked up by somebody by tomorrow.
Yeah, they're saying that he's going to sign with Seattle. That's the latest thing.
That's the last thing I heard.
That is the last one I heard, that they wanted him to back up Marshawn Lynch. If he's willing to sign for a reasonable amount of money, Seattle's one of the teams that doesn't have as much cap space as they'd like, so they can't offer him big money, but I think he just still wants to play. And the workload would be pretty light as long as Marshawn Lynch stays healthy. So, and from everything I've heard about Fred Jackson over the years, he's a good locker room guy. He's a quality guy that you want to have on your team. So I hope good things for him. I didn't think Buffalo was ever going to be the right place for him when they had Spiller and everything else going on over there. So we'll see how he does. Another guy that I've had on and off my fantasy teams over the years is wide receiver Denarius Moore, recently of the Cincinnati Bengals. They let him go. Jacksonville Jaguars released quarterback Jeff Toole. And I only bring him up because when he was in Buffalo, everyone used to tweet hashtag it's Toole time. Yep. And that was fun. And now he's not with Jacksonville. And it's got to be a little sad when even Jacksonville's cutting you as a quarterback. So I don't know what to say about that. The New York Jets cut wide receiver DeVere Posey, and I put him on my list because he's an Ohio State Buckeye, and I knew it would annoy Sonja that I was bringing up a Buckeye. But what's interesting about him and the next 2 players I'm going to name is the way they ended up on the teams they're at. DeVere Posey was drafted by the Texans and then traded just this May to the Jets for like 3 or 4 draft picks, and they've already cut him. And it just seems weird when guys that are involved in trades end up getting cut or drafted really high end up getting cut, and it's like, what did you see in him that you thought he was worth trade and this draft pick and all this money, and now you're just letting him go. You just cut him. He got cut today. Another name that falls into that category is running back Trent Richardson was cut by the Raiders. He is near and dear to my heart because he was our number 3 pick in the first round a few years ago. And what's interesting is the Browns today cut defensive tackle Phil Taylor. And Phil Taylor was part of the reason why we ended up with Trent Richardson. It may go down as being one of the worst trades ever in NFL history. Thank you, Cleveland Browns. A few years ago, we had the opportunity to draft a young player by the name of Julio Jones. And instead, we made a deal with Atlanta, which brought us Greg Little. He's now the official spokesman for Butterfingers Candy Bars. Owen Marisic, Phil Taylor, Brandon Whedon, and later the 4th pick that we traded to move up and get Trent Richardson. And so we traded Julio Jones for 5 players who are no longer on my roster. That's some bad trade juju, and I don't know what's going on, but it seems like teams are no longer willing to hold on to guys that they're drafted high. 1st, 2nd, 3rd rounders are no longer safe. If it's time for a big bump in salary, or if it's time for roster cuts and you're not cutting the mustard, they're letting you go. So those were just some of the names that really, you girls may know who was cut from some of your teams that surprised you, but those were the names that I thought most people would be familiar with and that I was actually surprised to see get cut today.
Denarius Moore, a guy I'm familiar with because he played for the Tennessee Volunteers. And if I'm not mistaken, he was like a 6th round draft pick of the Oakland Raiders. He is a guy, he's got talent. It's just between here. That is Denarius Moore's biggest problem. That's between his ears. And, if he can get right, I think that he could be a very valuable contributor to a team. He led the Raiders in receiving, I believe, his rookie year.
Yeah. And they've not had good quarterbacks there. So when I heard he was in Cincinnati, I thought, okay, first of all, Cincinnati's almost in Tennessee, so he's familiar with that area. It's like coming home to college. And he's got Andy Dalton, who, while he may struggle to win in the playoffs, throws a very nice ball. A.J. Green will tell you how nice the passes are that Andy Dalton throws. And I thought, this will be a really nice place for Denarius to end up. He might be worth a late-round fantasy football pickup. And then to see him get cut today, it makes me wonder, like you said, what's going on between here? What are the coaches seeing in the locker room and behind the scenes that they didn't want to keep him?
Yeah.
Yep.
Any Detroit cuts that made you sad, Sonja?
Let's see. So the biggest one was Ryan Broyles. He actually got released. He went to the team actually a couple days before, and then they went ahead and released him. That really wasn't. I don't know. It's just kind of kind of it's kind of sad because he was our second-round draft pick in 2012, I do believe, and pretty much just injuries. Just injuries has been his whole deal. And then once we signed Golden Tate, writing was a little bit on the wall that it was going to be a little bit of a tight spot for him to fit into. And so, there's that. Another, while cut hasn't been made, our boy, Sharona, Mr. Twerkit, he might be in a little bit jeopardy.
Yeah, we definitely need to talk about that. I was surprised. Tampa Bay Buccaneers love trading Tim Wright, I tell you.
So, that was just a head-scratcher in that, you've got Eric Ebron, who we drafted, and, first-round draft pick. And then you have Brandon Pettigrew, who, we just re-signed for a 4-year contract. And then you bring in Tim Wright and Joe Fourier. A little bit too many cooks in the kitchen right there. So, Joe...
They're talking about Joe Fourier his injury may be more serious than...
Exactly. Last year, he tripped over his cute little pooch. And really,
I'm sure he was not twerking at all, totally.
No, apparently he was not twerking when he did that, but he pretty much banged up his ankle pretty good. He was out for most of last year, played in about 7 games. Then he was kind of out in this preseason, little banged up, didn't really say too much about the injury, but from what it sounds like in the moves that they made, it could be a little bit worse than what we thought. So, his twerking days may just be over here in the Motor City.
Yeah, that was a little bit of as talented of a guy as he is, Eric Ebron is still developing, and and Tim Wright's been in the league for 3 or 4 years now. He's a guy who played wide receiver in college, converted to tight end, and he's shown that he's got some talent. So I'm very excited for Detroit.
Exactly. If they can really get Ebron moving along, and it sounds like he's making the right strides and improving in camp, which is excellent, and I'm really excited to see it. And if they get Tim Wright and, that whole 2 tight end catching thing, that might work out very, very well for our offense.
Yeah.
Just might.
The cut that hasn't been mentioned that I guess probably surprised me the most was the Carolina Panthers cutting wide receiver Jarrett Boykin, who former Green Bay Packer, the Panthers just lost second-year young and promising wide receiver Kelvin Benjamin, and I really thought that Jarrett Boykin was going to fill that number 2 wide receiver, or at the very least, number 3 wide receiver role. And so that was a kind of shocking move for me.
Exactly. Especially, like you said, I guess they really have a lot of faith in Devin Funchess, which, my Michigan fan. I think that it'll be...
Of course, they do have Greg Olsen, too, speaking of tight ends.
Yes, they do. They do have him. So, there's very interesting, but like I said, I guess they have a little bit more confidence in Devin Funchess than, maybe once was originally thought. I guess.
Yeah, but still, who's going to be their wide receiver twos and
Exactly.
I mean, I'm going to be, by the way, talking Carolina Panthers on my podcast in the morning about Talk with Sharona. So I'm very anxious to talk to Carolina Abby about that. We'll get the ball from Newton, so stay tuned in for that. But, I've got Cam Newton in several of my fantasy football leagues, and when that I was like, gulp, when they released Jarrett Boykin, I was like, oh my gosh. Ooh, now, because it was already a concern. People were already like, Sharona, why are you drafting Cam Newton? Nobody is there to catch the ball, and then they released that guy. So it's very interesting. Of course, people said, we were talking about that. Was it just last year when they moved on from longtime wide receiver Steve Smith?
Mm-hmm.
And look what he did in Baltimore.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, and speaking of Steve Smith, maybe we'll talk about this a little bit more in our final segment, but this is a good time to bring that. Did you guys happen to catch the brawl the other night?
I did not see the brawl, but I heard about it.
Yeah. Kate, did you see that?
I heard about it as well. I don't know. That Harbaugh boy, somebody probably tried to shake hands with one of the players, and he don't like shaking hands, and his players don't like shaking hands or answering questions.
Well, no, what actually happened was one of them, John Harbaugh should have treated the reporter that way. That was awful. But who were they playing again? I forget.
They were playing. Were they playing the Redskins?
Yes.
Yes,
it was
the
Redskins because it was Jay Gruden. A Washington Redskin player totally pile-drived a Baltimore Raven player. I mean, lifted him up and dove on top of him.
It was a WWE move.
I mean, it was awful. I was just in shock that it happened. And I'm kind of curious to see what the NFL is going to do about that.
I was about to say, has he been disciplined, fined, anything?
I haven't heard anything. I don't remember the gentleman's name. Yeah, and it led to a fight, and Steve Smith had some extracurricular activities following the fight. So I'm sure several players are going to get a nice little FedEx in their mailbox or whatever from the league office about that. I think that the guy should be the guy who pile-drived the other player. I think that he should be suspended at least one game. What do you ladies think?
Okay, we'll start with you. You're new. Go for it, Rook.
I like aggression in my football players, but there are rules for reasons, and we want people to be safe.
Yeah.
And we want you to play within the rules that are set down for you. And this is the kind of behavior that makes me nervous looking at weeks 3 and 4 of the preseason, because you have a lot of players who are fighting to make a team, to put good film out there so that if the team they're on waves them, someone else will see the film and want to get them, and they get a little overeager and over-anxious, and then you see things like that. I don't know if he even makes the roster. I don't know if it's a one game, if it's a game check, how they decide to discipline him, but there needs to be something done, because it's starting to feel like the NFL is more concerned about disciplining players for their behavior off the field and not so much with the things that are being done on the field. And when something is that blatant and obvious and everybody saw it, it's not like, shenanigans at the bottom of the pile that you can't see. We all have stories from former players about what goes on. He could have seriously injured that guy.
Yeah.
And you can't allow that. You need to send a very clear message that this isn't, UFC fighting. This isn't the WWE. This is the NFL, and there's a civilized way to be aggressive, and I'm not okay with that kind of behavior.
Well, listen, these guys put their bodies on the line all the time for quote unquote legal hits, and there are unspoken, unwritten rules I shouldn't say unspoken, but unwritten rules in the NFL that everybody knows are there. Sean Merriman, former San Diego Charger defensive player, played defensive line and linebacker. Sean Merriman actually wrote a very good article about that, talking about the unwritten rules. And one of the biggest no-nos in the league, in the NFL, and really in most sports, I say most because we know that there are sports that kind of thrive on that kind of drama-filled thing, but you don't take away another man's livelihood. You don't intentionally go out there and try to hurt somebody. And that's why Roger Goodell was so hard about Bountygate and why Bountygate really was so important. And it's why, in my opinion, I think that the league should fine this guy, but he should also, no, we don't know yet. I don't remember his name again, so we don't know. Maybe he got cut today. I don't know. Is he going to make a team? But he should sit. If he makes a team, in my opinion, he should sit at least one game, if not two, because you just don't do that. You don't go out there and try to intentionally hurt somebody. You know, violence is enough as it is.
Exactly. And
in my opinion.
Oh, yeah, no, I agree. And Kate, I think, will remember the preseason when Ndamukong Suh just threw Colt McCoy like a stinking rag doll, and he got fined, you know? And so it's just like, okay, he got fined, and I think that, and that was just, you know, that was a tough tackle that, you know, Sue did to McCoy, but this was scary.
Well, some of the stuff that Stu got in trouble for, I think, was more because of his reputation.
Yeah, as he went on. But he did get fined for that play against Colt McCoy. And
Ian Robinson is the name of the Washington Redskins player. I'm looking to see if he's on their cut list for today.
Well, you know, living in Tennessee, and you know, I used to cover the Tennessee Titans exclusively, and
he is on their cut list.
Okay. Well, we all remember what Albert Haynesworth did to the center for the Dallas Cowboys, and he got, what, 6 games for it? And so we'll have to see what the league decides to do with that. But that is a no-no, and the league has to come down hard on, because, again, injuries are, you know, such a concern as it is, and you don't want somebody out there doing stuff like that could cause injury to another guy.
Exactly. And that would be a devastating injury. He could have been a quadriplegic. He could have been a quadriplegic. He might not have ever walked again.
Let's wrap up our cut segment, because I want to get to Sharona's last segment. The last thing I want to talk about in the cuts real quick, and I'd like your opinion, and I can't wait till we're on Spreecast and we can interact with our listeners on this, or viewers. Are they viewers or listeners? I guess they're both. When the Browns cut Phil Taylor today, they're going to have to pay him $5.7 million. He's got offset language in his contract, so if he gets signed, some of that will be offset. But they're going to have to pay him $5 million. There was a lot of talk the last couple days about the Washington Redskins and RG3, and the concern that if he's on the roster and if he plays and if he gets hurt, he's guaranteed $16 million. Do you cut a player that you don't think is worth $16 million if he gets hurt, that you don't, you know, as your backup quarterback? Is RG3 cuttable, or is he just not cuttable? Is he tradable?
It's so funny, Kate. I was getting ready to bring that up because we had mentioned Colt McCoy.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Sonja. Please go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh, no, you're fine. You're fine. I was just saying, Oh, that's a tough question.
It is.
I don't think he's tradable right now. His contract is just too... It's too gross right now. I mean, for lack of a better term, it's huge. And, you know, I think right now... That's why Kirk Cousins is starting, because they don't want to pay that money. And the next best thing, I think, at this point is just to cut him. He needs to be cut. He needs a fresh start. He needs, you know, a clean slate. He needs to be cut. It sucks, but obviously this experiment did not work. This did not work.
Yeah. Yeah,
so
I think it's...
Do you think they paid too much for him to be willing to cut him? Do you think that's like there's pride factoring into whether or not he gets cut?
They're never going to recoup everything that they invested in him. And it's not just about the contract either. I mean, they traded up. They traded, what, 4 draft picks? 3 or 4?
The number ones.
Yeah, to move up and to get to select him number 2 overall.
Uh-oh.
Sharona froze.
Sharona's frozen. Let it go.
So, I'm sorry, are we freezing? It seems like we're freezing up.
You are freezing.
I'm
Okay.
going to turn my camera off because sometimes my camera does that, and since it's your segment next, you guys can still hear me, but you don't have to see me, and that might stop the freezing.
Okay. I was like, I think I'm frozen here. But anyway, I feel badly for RG3. I do think that the situation could have been handled a little bit better by everyone. But, and Sonja and Sonja, you know, we've talked about this a lot, and we both have a lot of sympathy for RG3, but I think that RG3 bears some responsibility here.
For sure.
And so yeah, I agree with Kate, absolutely. I don't think that he's tradable. Because most everybody knows that he's, you know, the odds of him getting released and you know, he hasn't played that well.
Exactly.
You know, he just hasn't played to the level that, and again, it's not entirely his fault, but it is what it is. And so, the situation in Washington is, I called it a clown show the other day, and you know, it's really unfortunate. Young quarterbacks. Speaking of the Bills, you know, E.J. Manuel, another guy that's in a little bit of a similar situation. You know, the Bills just announced that Tyrod Taylor is going to be their starter. He's a guy that sat behind Joe Flacco and was able to learn the game. And, you know, these young quarterbacks are being forced into service and at a time when they're really not ready, but it's really an unfortunate situation, and I feel badly for RG3. All right, let's turn to our fantasy football segment. You guys, we had our fantasy draft last night, and before we before we got on camera, we were having a discussion about that, and so apparently Sonja's hubby had a little bit of an issue. Listen, Sharona doesn't always draft a place kicker or a defense. I had a fantasy draft a couple of nights ago. I didn't draft a defense. I did draft a kicker with my last pick. Last night I didn't draft either one. And apparently Sonja's hubby had an issue with that.
He did, and he thinks that, well, first of all, he should get in on Trash Talk Tuesday because he feels as though he's going to win this league and run roughshod all over us. That's what he feels. He's a confident guy, what can I say? But he...
Play it, please.
It's okay. My husband thinks the same thing. I'll let him take it until, you know, I beat him in the Super Bowl in a league one year, and the toss went down a little bit, but it's going to be back.
Oh, yeah. He was very upset that Adrian Peterson was available for him to pick at, 5 or 6 or wherever he picked. I can't remember where he picked. But, so that was that. But, you know, when it comes to my defense, at least in fantasy, I just kind of rotate it around. I usually save it for, you know, pretty close to last. I don't really expect too much out of it. And, you know, if I get just a god-awful one, I usually will just look around and see who's left on the waivers and just pick up somebody who's got a decent matchup. I mean, you're not expecting, you know, 10, 20 points out of your defense every week.
No, I mean,
you're not.
Yeah.
There are one or two defenses that'll do that. Seattle, you know, the Bears defense a couple years ago, there are only a couple. If you don't get one of the top 2 or 3, you're just as fine picking up somebody off waivers, like you said, looking at the matchups each week and picking somebody up as you are, you know, keeping them on the roster all year.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, if you have an opportunity, here, we should share our fantasy football philosophies. And here is my one hard and fast rule. And this applies if I was a GM of an NFL team.
Hint, hint.
Yeah. Let the draft come to you.
Yes.
You know, I always have in my... of course, nowadays, see, when I first started playing fantasy football back in the Stone Age, when they were playing with real pigskin, you didn't have all this fancy stuff. We were doing it by Excel spreadsheet, and we emailed the commissioner and all of that. But anyway, I would have because it was an in-person live draft. It was a keeper league too.
Yeah.
I would have my list of the players that I wanted, and it was just like 200, because this was a pretty deep league, and I think you had 4 keepers that you can have from year to year. So I would have my big list, and I would just mark it off as we drafted. And so, but now it's all there handy dandy for you as you're drafting, because it's all computerized now. And so I just sit back and let the draft come to me, and I'll look and see who's out there, kind of pick from that. And so I think that's the best strategy, because if you go into a draft thinking, oh, I'm going to draft this guy, and first of all, you're going to be disappointed because invariably that guy gets sniped, the pick right before you, and and secondly, then you're scrambling around trying to figure out who you want to take instead of.
Exactly, Kate. You took my Greg Olson.
I did.
I had him on my queue, and I'm like, all right, Greg. Dang it, Kate!
I don't think I got sniped last night. It was a fast draft. We went. I mean, it was like click, click, click.
We did that within an hour.
The most was Antonio Brown going #1. I mean, I know this is a 10-team league and it's a PPR, but still, Antonio Brown going #1. I had the #2 pick, and I was like, wait, I don't know what I don't know who to pick, because I figured my decision would be narrowed down by 1, and Antonio Brown wasn't in my top choices for taking a #2, and I was all confused.
If I had the #1 pick in that league, I probably would have picked Antonio Brown too. I've seen him go. I don't think that I've had the #1 pick at all. I'm on 10 or 11 fantasy teams. I've seen him go #1. I have picked him. I think I had the #4 overall pick once, and I picked him.
And what's your favorite draft position? What's your favorite place to be in the draft?
It changes so much, and a lot of it depends too on the league and who's in there. But I kind of like to be at the bottom of the draft order.
I like middle. I do. I like the middle, because I think I panic a little bit when I'm at the bottom. I'm not even gonna lie. I start panicking. I'm like, crap, who can I get? And then I'm kind of like you, Sharona. I let the draft come to me. I don't have a set plan, because if you're like, okay, I'm gonna take this person, if you go into it thinking that, you get all screwed up. So then I just kind of look and see who's going where, and just kind of go from there. So I just let the draft come to me, really. But when I get down to the bottom of the picks, I get nervous, and so then I start panicking and just drafting crazy people, because I get freaked out that somebody's not going to be there. My first couple of years in the leagues, that I did, I had awful quarterbacks. My quarterback situation was just sad. So these past couple of years, I've been like, I am not letting that happen again. So this year, I was proud of myself. I was able to do pretty well in the quarterback category. So yay me.
I always have a YOLO pick. I always have that pick that I'm like, I'll look and see who's there, and I won't like who's there, and I'll be scrolling down, and I'll go, click, YOLO.
Yep.
I like to be in the middle as well. I'm not sure my reason's the same as Sonja's. I just don't like picking back-to-back. I don't like having 2 picks really close together and then having to wait forever to go again. I like to be around 5, 6, 7, so there's about an even amount of space my next guy. As far as my fantasy philosophy, one of the things that I really advocate to people is don't worry about the bye weeks. A lot of people will take 2 running backs, and then when they go to pick up a 3rd running back, they won't take the best running back on the board because he shares a bye week with one of their other running backs. I'd rather have a week where I have really crappy players 1 week out of 16, when the other weeks I've got the top 2 or top 3 scoring players at that position, because we also have a flex position in our league, so I can start 3 running backs. But too many people get caught up in that bye week, and they worry about it because it's on every one of the apps. It's like the name, the position, and their bye week. Like, this is the most important thing for you to worry about. And I'm more
Well,
concerned.
it's pretty important for tight end and quarterback. I mean, I agree with you
When
in
you have
terms of
one position, but most of the time I don't ever have two tight ends. Sometimes I'll take a backup quarterback. Like in this league, I think I took Eli and my husband took Romo more as trade bait in case someone needs something later. I've got a little bit of bank that I can make a deal with. I don't think I've ever had more than one tight end on my roster just because, for the bye week, I'll pick somebody up. For me, they're like a kicker or a defense. There were a couple years where tight ends were big, and I think the NFL is getting away from that again, and you're not seeing, I can get good fantasy numbers out of a number 2 wide receiver versus a starting tight end. So
that is
true. To see what the NFL trend is this year.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like carrying any more than one tight end, and I think in one of our leagues we have our flex position is wide receiver, running back, and tight end. It's just like, why? You really don't need, like you said, you don't need that second tight end. There really is no...
I completely disagree.
Really?
I totally disagree with that. And if you're playing in like a 16-team league, you better pay attention to it because it can be extremely important.
But yeah, and sometimes though, in like a 10-team or a 12-team league, I don't know. I just think that.
Yeah, no, that's not. It's not as.
I was about to say it's not as important. So I just kind of And plus, there's only really like 3 or 4 maybe like really good quality tight ends that are going to get you a lot of points week in and week out. So I don't know.
There's probably about. I've definitely played tight ends in flex positions, and I mean it just depends, I guess, on. I mean, like let's say Delaney Walker is a good example. He was a guy that was putting up wide receiver numbers, and he was a great flex option. 2 years ago, something like that. And of course, Gronk's always a guy that you can put.
Oh yeah.
So, Vernon Davis kind of he was sort of a little bit of that guy there for a while. And there's been some other names too. Now, I would agree that tight end is definitely more of a hit or miss, proposition than your, maybe your wide receivers. But a lot of it just depends too, on the league. I have played in leagues where people were drafting 3 tight ends.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's just kind of...
peeves. I know one of mine is, people ask me for fantasy football advice all the time, and I have no problem giving people advice, but I need to know how many teams are in your league. I need to know if it's PPR. I need to know if the quarterback's getting 4 points or 6 points. People are like, why are you asking all these questions? I'm like, because it matters.
Yeah.
This guy, that guy, is it a running back who's going to get passes behind the line? And do they play bubble screens there, or is he just going to run the ball? It makes a difference if you're getting PPR for that. So if you out there want my fantasy football advice, I need to know how many teams are in your league, how many points a quarterback gets for a touchdown, and if you're a PPR.
I was about to say, before you even ask her that question, you better have all that ready to go, or else she ain't talking to you. So there.
Let's put a hashtag format for it, so it can be like hashtag 10, 6P, no PPR.
Exactly.
How many leagues were you in this year, Kate?
God help me, 5. I swore I wasn't going to do but 2 this year. I did 8 last year, and it was insane.
It's crazy.
I find myself committing to the same bad players over and over again. Like you said, you've had Cam Newton in most of your leagues. I find myself trying to draft the same players just because on Sunday I always end up with a 4 o'clock game where I need this guy to score a touchdown to take the lead in this league, but I'm playing against him in this league, and I don't know if I want to root for him to score the touchdown or not, and it makes me crazy. But I don't want to have 5 identical teams.
I've got him in 3 leagues. I don't think it's not most. I've got Aaron Rodgers, Cam Newton's my quarterback, and my main quarterback in like 3 of my leagues. I've got Aaron Rodgers in 2 or 3 of them. Teddy Bridgewater is my main quarterback in 1 of my leagues. I'm going to have to take a look at that. But I'm in like 10 or 11. I've got like 2 or 3 best ball leagues, which are easy. And so, I mean, you're right, though, Kate. It just depends on what kind of league it is.
Yeah, now I've only had 2 drafts so far. I have 3 this weekend, 1 Saturday, 1 Sunday, and then 1 on Tuesday. They were trying to wait till we got through the 4th preseason game, which has been nice because the first draft I did was right after the first preseason game before the Jordy Nelson injury.
Yep.
And so every time I see a tweet that somebody's hurt, I'm grabbing my roster and looking.
Yeah, right.
I don't have them. So
I
I
had
get
just drafted Kelvin Benjamin when he got injured, and so I was like, tossing down shots.
It cracks me up because if you don't pay attention, a lot of people don't look at as much of this stuff as like we do, and they go to play fantasy football, and the websites aren't updated.
No, they're
It's
not.
No.
showing projected points for Arian Foster and projected points for Kelvin Benjamin and Jordy Nelson, and it's like, dude, not
Hello.
everybody
Pay
pays
attention.
invested attention as we do. You need to put on there, especially if they're going to be on IR.
Yeah.
I mean, I know they haven't been designated yet. They won't get designated until like the 10th, but you know they're not.
Yeah.
Exactly.
For a while.
Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. Well, the hour always goes by so fast. Great fantasy football discussion. Great segments tonight. Sonja, I'm going to let you get us ready to go out.
All right, get us ready to dip out. Yeah. Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in. We're so excited. Like I said earlier, make sure you guys start getting your Spreecast together. Like, it's very easy. Go to Spreecast.com. You can log in with your Facebook, with your Twitter, with your email. So get going on that so that when we're up and running, you guys can be up and running with us and interact with us because we really want to hear what you guys have to say. And, we're
going to start featuring your questions. And if you ask a very good question, we have the opportunity to actually bring you on screen to ask your questions. So that's kind of cool and neat.
Yeah.
We definitely want you guys to interact with us.
Exactly. And hey, Kate, maybe we can, expand it to some fantasy advice for you and, and put that in your Kona as well.
Yeah. I want to see your husband get on screen in another room with like a little thing covering his face like he doesn't want to be recognized and having to ask him fantasy football advice. I'll tell him that.
I'll tell him that. I'll make sure he does and has on his maize and blue when he does that.
Well, all the Buckeyes, you sit all the Michiganders.
What?
You play anyone who went to Ohio State. You sit anyone who didn't.
Pretty much. Wow. Oh my. But anyways, we are so happy to have Kate with us. This is going to be so much fun, you guys, so we're really excited about that. Kate, thanks again. Why don't you tell everybody where they can find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Cleveland Kate at CLVLNDK, the number 8, like Cleveland Kate, but with no vowels. Or you can find me on voiceatradio.com Mondays at 6 or Fridays at 6 for an hour of talking sports with Cleveland Kate. And as always, go to NFLfemale.com and look for Cleveland Browns articles, and you'll find my writing there.
Yay! Yay, yay, yay. And Sharona, why don't you go ahead, tell everybody where we can find you.
No, I'll let you go, and then I'll take us out.
Oh, okay, cool. All right, well, then you can find me, Sonja, at mom, the number 2, the number 3, RN on Twitter. You can find me writing some of here, there, and anywhere, of course, for NFLfemale.com. I think for this season, I'm going to be debuting a new way of myself doing the articles this year for the Lions. Yeah, so I'm kind of excited about that. I've learned more about Lions than I really needed to know, but did you all know that the main hunter-gatherers of a pride are the females? Hello.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you can find me there. You can also find me writing some of anywhere. A Good Sports Hang, who's now kind of focusing a little bit more towards the SEC. So there you go, Sharona.
Wow, awesome. We need to get Trav and the guys on. We keep saying that we're going to do that, and we definitely need to do that.
Exactly, because those are some cool guys. So let me get in touch with them, see what we can do.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thanks for joining us. I am Sharona. You can find me on Twitter at Sports by Sharona. You can also find me every Monday and Wednesday morning, 10 a.m. to noon, on Back Talk with Sharona. In the morning, we're going to be talking about the Carolina Panthers. Be sure to tune in for that. Well, Carol's going to be joining me talking about the latest in NFL injuries. You can also find me. Probably won't debut my first NFL article for NFL Female until this weekend. I've been working on it, but life gets in the way. Yes, and I know you ladies know how that is. It's been, it's just kind of crazy. But definitely jump on NFL Female awrreport.com and check out all the latest and greatest articles. And I can't wait to hear what Sonja is going to be doing for the Lions. And I know that Kate's always going to be doing great articles about the Browns. Next week, we hope to have a full crew for you. We're going to be hopefully joined again by our New Orleans Saints reporter, Kat Lash-Williams, who has been with us, but unfortunately couldn't join us tonight. She had work obligations. Life gets in the way. But thanks for joining us tonight. Shout out to Liz, as always, for whom all of this is possible. We'll be back next week with another great show. You've been watching the Zone Blitz by NFL Female. Have a very pleasant evening, and we'll see you next week.
Deuces.